Good morning. So I'm going to read today's Substack article and some poems. When God is no longer outside. When God is placed outside the human heart, responsibility is placed there as well. Humanity now stands at a spiritual crossroads, not because the sacred has disappeared, but because the way we have reached to it has reached its limit. The externalization of God was never going to lead to inner transformation. At best, it produced social order for a time. At worst, it produced obedience without wisdom, belief without conscience, and division without depth. The idea of God placed wholly outside the human being, somewhere up there, separate, judging, rewarding, punishing, may once have served an early stage of human development. It gave form to the ineffable and offered meaning in an uncertain world. But it also carried a hidden cost. When God is externalized, responsibility is externalized with it. Authority moves outside the self. Inner inquiry is replaced by obedience, and living truth is replaced by belief. Only a few rare individuals have gone further. Across traditions and cultures, there have always been those who internalized their relationship with God, who discovered the sacred not as an object of belief, but as a living presence within consciousness itself. These individuals did not merely worship peace, they practiced it. They did not argue about truth, they embodied it. Their lives were marked less by certainty than by humility, compassion, and an intimacy with life that did not require enemies. What they discovered was simple and radical. Inner change cannot be commanded from the outside. It arises only through direct relationship, through conscience, through presence, through a lived encounter with reality as it is. Where this inner transformation occurs, violence loses its justification and division loses its appeal. Most religion, however, never made this turn inward. Instead, belief hardened into ideology. Symbols became literal. Teachings meant to point beyond themselves were treated as final truths. God became aligned with tribe, nation, morality, and power. Once this happens, religion no longer unites, it divides. It no longer softens the heart, it fortifies identity. And when belief becomes fused with collective identity, conflict becomes inevitable. In this sense, religion, as humanity has largely practiced it, has failed. Not because the sacred is false, but because belief without inner realization cannot carry the weight we have placed upon it. An external God, held as an idea rather than as a lived experience, becomes a tool of separation rather than a source of transformation. The wars, divisions, and moral crusades carried out in the name of God are not anomalies. They are the logical outcome of externalized faith. When God is outside, truth must be defended. When truth must be defended, others must be wrong. And when others are wrong, coercion, violence, or exclusion can always be justified. This era is coming to an end. Not because humanity has outgrown the sacred, but because the notion of an external God can no longer guide an increasingly complex, powerful, and psychologically aware species. The old forms cannot contain what is now required of us. Belief alone is no longer enough. Obedience is no longer enough. Identity-based faith is no longer enough. What is being asked now is something more demanding and more intimate, the internalization of the sacred. This does not mean abandoning reverence, mystery, or humility. It means relocating them. God is no longer an object to believe in, but a depth to be lived from. Truth is no longer something to defend, but something to embody. Spirituality is no longer a matter of belonging to the right belief system, but of cultivating inner responsibility, conscience, and presence. Those who have made this turn are not loud. They do not dominate institutions or command armies. They rarely claim authority, but wherever they appear, something settles. Conflict de-escalates, fear loosens its grip, life is met rather than resisted. Peace, in this sense, is not an idea. It is a byproduct of inner alignment. Humanity now stands between two paths. One leads further into ideological certainty, external authority, and increasingly violent attempts to impose meaning on a fractured world. The other leads inward, towards responsibility, humility, and a lived relationship with the sacred that does not require enemies. This crossroads is not theoretical. It is already shaping our politics, our conflicts, our cultures, and our inner lives. The question is no longer whether the old models are failing. They are. The question is whether enough individuals will be willing to make the inward turn before the outward structures collapse under their own weight. The age of an external God is ending, not because God is gone, but because humanity is being asked to grow up. Okay, a few poems for you. Sorrow arrives as a healing balm. We fight with it, fearful of drowning. But friend, that ocean is your essence. Surrender and let love pour forth. It will flow into you and through you into the world. Meet the world empty and naked. Give up your stories, they are prisons. Meet it as the silence you truly are. When you do this, divine intelligence will offer you its gifts and its grace, and it will pour into the silence in you and fill it with wisdom and beauty, truth and compassion. As the world drowns under the weight of division and corruption, as karmic forces erupt like a volcano, you ask, what can I do? Remain still, my friend. Be the eye of awareness at the center of the tempest. Your presence is more important than your drama. One must become exhausted and disillusioned with the world and one's own habitual tendencies. Then something true may happen. Without that tipping point, as soon as things get uncomfortable, there will be a retreat to the familiar, and the familiar is not where the transformation is. Last one. If you don't know what to do with your life, just practice great kindness without expecting anything in return, and let everything else take care of itself.